As Maryland voters head to the polls for the 2018 midterm elections, here's some of the highlights of our election coverage thus far. In the governor's race, polls have pegged Larry Hogan as the heavy favorite, even though registered Democrats outnumber Republicans 2-1. Hogan has been endorsed by the Baltimore Sun and Washington Post, and he's one of the most popular governors in the country.
It seems like most people are happy with some of the progress that we've made over the last 4 years, and they want to see us continue.
He's outraised his opponents by a 20-1 margin and flooded the airwaves with TV ads like this.
Vote yes on the Hogan Lockbox Initiative.
That falsely take credit for achievements of Democrats, a ballot measure that would end the siphoning off of money from casino revenues away from schools. This started under Democrat Martin O'Malley, but critics say Hogan has diverted more funding from education than his predecessor. Education is a key issue in Maryland. Hogan touts his record education funding, but Jealous says he has the backing of the state teachers union and say he'll do more for the school system. Here's an excerpt of the only debate between Jealous and Hogan.
Over the last 4 years, our schools have fallen in the national rankings. Every year Governor Hogan's been in office, they've fallen from 1st to 6th. And what has he done? He's toured the state with Betsy DeVos and sent millions of dollars to private schools in the form of vouchers while cutting funds for our schools, almost $100 million.
Well, I believe very strongly that every single child in our state deserves access to a world-class education, regardless of what neighborhood they happen to grow up in. And that's what we've been focused on for 4 years. Why we put $25 billion into K-12 education. No governor in the history of the state has ever invested more. We went over and above the legislatively mandated formulas.
It'd be more accurate to say schools have dropped from 3rd to 6th. Hogan correctly says he's provided record funding to schools, but Maryland's own studies have found schools are underfunded by $3 billion a year. Hogan has distanced himself from Donald Trump and emphasized his ability to work across the aisle. The most recent polls have over 30% of Democrats backing him. But when the Real News asked Hogan about his ties to a Koch brothers-backed think tank, he called us fake news.
I'm not a member of it. I used to be on the board years ago, and the Koch brothers had absolutely nothing to do with it. So the Real News
president. Democratic nominee for governor Ben Jealous has run on a progressive platform of taking on wealthy interests through a $15 minimum wage, state-based Medicare for all, making prescription drugs more affordable, and legalizing cannabis to pay for universal pre-K. He's also said he'll make higher education tuition free by reducing spending on mass incarceration. These are all things large number of Maryland voters support. Some members of the state's Democratic establishment have not supported Jealous, but supporters say that will ensure if he's elected, he'll be accountable to voters and not the party. Down double digits in the polls, Jealous says his path to victory is turning out 1 million Democrats to the polls.
I'm going to win this general the same way I won the primary. I defied every pollster, defied every pundit. What did we do? We stayed focused on organizing door to door and talking to people about what they know matters. How we move forward on education, how we move forward boldly on health care, how we move forward together to build a more robust economy.
Early voting numbers have more than doubled over 4 years ago and are even higher among Democrats. This is one of the most compelling moments of the only debate between Hogan and Jealous. Hogan took aim at Jealous's plan to reduce mass incarceration.
He now wants to take another 30% of the violent criminals. These are murderers and rapists and repeat violent offenders, and put them back onto the streets. It just is absolutely not. Some of your proposals are reckless, but this one is downright dangerous, and it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And if we were to fire thousands of public safety officers and put thousands of violent criminals on the streets, that's going to help you lower the crime situation. I just don't think that makes sense.
Governor, from Willie Horton to Donald Trump, your party plays by the same playbook. We see it on the hateful ads that you've been running now for months. You try to scare people, sir, because you don't have a plan. And when you don't have a plan...
Wait. I just said our plan was recognized as the best in America. Yeah. We've already accomplished it.
That was the Democrats' plan that was passed, that you had to sign because there was a supermajority.
No, that's not true. We actually introduced it and worked very hard.
Yeah.
Jealous has also won backing from climate justice groups and the likes of environmentalist Bill McKibben, who calls Maryland's governor's race one of the most crucial for the future of the climate.
This is one of these critical elections for climate policy around the country. And Ben Jealous is one of the most remarkable environmental advocates as well as civil rights advocates that we have.
Third-party candidates, including Ian Schlachman of the Green Party and Libertarian candidate Sean Quinn, are both polling at 1%. Republicans are also seeking to pick up 5 Senate seats to end the Democratic supermajority in the state Senate and ending the ability of Democrats to override potential vetoes by Governor Hogan. For more coverage of the 2018 race for Maryland governor, go to trnn.com and make sure to watch our live election coverage on November 6th from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. From Baltimore, this is Jessel Noor.